Now we're recording. Welcome to a new show that I have with my friend Deborah Manning, who at one time, both of us agreed on everything. And that was up till about 4 years ago. But amazingly, we still can keep our dialogue because both of us are basically after the same ends. We just have differed from how to get to that ends. Anyway,
Exactly.
this is
Welcome, Malcolm. I'm so glad to see you. I'm speaking to you from South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina. And up until I'm coming up on my 5th anniversary being here. I was a native Californian, and I'll always be a Californian. But now I'm on this coast at this point, and it's great to see you. You look fabulous, Malcolm.
yeah, like my hair is short. I cut it short.
It looks great, and mine's long now.
Yeah. I cannot grow my hair long.
Oh.
I guess as I get older, the hair is much thinner.
Mm-hmm.
So it sort of looks yucky, aside from the fact that it's white and gray. So, but anyway, which is funny because you're originally from the West Coast, and now you're on the East Coast. I'm originally from New York, the East Coast. I've been living the last 40 years on the West Coast. Yep. It's funny, you don't have a Southern accent, and I don't have a California accent. I still sound like I came from the streets of Brooklyn.
Well, it's funny because people do ask here about my accent, and they do ask me, does it bother me, the Southern accent? And I said, for heaven's sakes, no, y'all.
Yo.
Y'all. And you realize that the plural of y'all is y'alls.
Y'alls.
I'm learning these things.
well, back in my youth, I had a girlfriend that was from Georgia.
Ooh.
But the funny thing was, it's not the funny thing, but she didn't have a Southern accent.
Oh.
Until she had a drink. and I could tell when she had enough to drink by how deep her drawl was.
There you go.
Now, the first drink, it was a light drawl, but by the second and third drink, she was talking like this.
There you go.
And she was also singing the, what's this? I'm trying to think of the song. Anyway, forget it.
Well, it's been an interesting transition for us. As you and I have talked, I was 63 years, almost 64 years in California. My folks moved from Providence, Rhode Island, and from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. And it was a very interesting decision to have to decide to move back to South Carolina. But it's been eye-opening, and it's been very, very positive here. For example, today we're waiting for Hurricane Delta to show up. And while it may not have hit the coast of Louisiana yet, has not made landfall, it's fascinating because we are starting to get weather up here all the way from the Gulf Coast. We're getting weather now up here, very heavy winds, a lot of rain. And that started around 2 o'clock this morning when we started to get the weather coming in. And it's different here in South Carolina in that we have the 4 seasons, but even more importantly, we do get weather. And we've had a number of hurricanes come by, which is in contrast to California, earthquakes. We were used to earthquakes. With a hurricane, at least we've got 4 or 5 days warning. With an earthquake, you don't. But with an
earthquake, it comes and goes.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, hopefully the last one that had a major effect on me was 1994.
Yes.
That was the last major one here in Los Angeles.
Otherwise,
we just, you're laying in bed and all of a sudden the bed goes jingle, jingle, jingle. And you sort of, wait in anticipation. Okay, where does the next where's the next shake come? And then ones, and then it's over. Then you turn on your computer or the TV or the radio, and you find out, okay, what was it? I think and then you have your games. Oh, that was a 4.5. No, it was a 4.7. No, it was a 3.8.
That's right. Well, interestingly enough, we get earthquakes here. And we just recently had one up in North Carolina, about a 2.5, and everybody just went wild because they went, "Oh my gosh, an earthquake? What the heck is it?"
Which leads into us into fracking. No, not yet.
No,
Do they frack?
no.
Do they frack there? I don't know.
No, they don't. In fact, it's interesting because our gas prices here are down to, I believe we're at about $1.85 right now. When we first got here 5 years ago, the cost per gallon was $1.65 versus when we left California, we were in the 350s. What is it now?
I don't know. I haven't driven.
Oh,
It's probably.
there you go.
I really, literally, I haven't. I only go as far away, as I can walk. Actually, my wife does the
Cool.
driving, and she does the shopping.
How has COVID changed your life?
Number one, I have to, when I do my walking and running, I run with my mask. I don't have people over the house. The big difference is I hadn't been going out that much because it was so damn expensive, to tell you the truth. Because you go out, for fast food, with 4 people, it costs you $70, $80.
Yeah.
If you go to a movie, the movie is, $12 a head. Plus, if you buy popcorn, forget it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, basically, the difference is we don't have people over the house. We don't have people over for dinner. We don't have, my wife, has a large family out here.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, we get together for all the holidays, all the birthdays. So we get together, probably at least once a month with, 20, 30 people.
Sure.
And we haven't done that. I mean, that's been my major change. Of course, my boys, one is graduated from Santa Barbara, Jonathan, in scenic design, and he was working with groups putting on various shows. There are no shows.
Oh, boy.
So he's, been on unemployment. My other one works, who went to Cal State SLO, San Luis Obispo.
Sure.
And he's been working at home with his computer, but he's still working. So that's their difference. And they all live at home, which I love. My older one is moving. He finally has his own apartment. I don't want him to move. But
I know. Yeah, it's been interesting for us. South Carolina was one of the last states to really close down, and of course, it was the first state to secede from the Union back in the Civil War.
Are they back in? I thought they were still out.
Yeah, well, I have to tell you, it's quite a rebel state. There's still that rebel feeling that's here. However, all that being said, McMaster's, who was our governor, was very, very careful about the shutdown and about the masks and the whole idea of protecting the vulnerable. And it's been interesting here. We've had a lot of cases, there's no doubt about it, but our hospitalization rate always stayed very, very low. And I think what it probably was, even as much as the South Carolinians want to consider themselves to be rebels and still rebels, many and most people seem to just simply don the mask. I know that my husband and I, as soon as President Trump shut down China, the China travel, we didn't need to be told there was a problem. Certainly actions speak louder than words. So we knew there was an issue. And at that point, we started donning masks. And of course, we'd always kept, our business here was as a handyman couple. So we had N95 masks, which was very interesting. We had a slew of them because we were always doing sanding and painting and all of that. And we needed to protect our lungs anyway. So we started donning the N95 masks, I would say probably about the 1st of February. Mm-hmm. And many other people did as well. Some people didn't, and that was fine. But as far as we were concerned, we did. And knock on wood, so far, we're fine. But it looks like at this point right now, we may have, instead of worrying about the vaccine, I think that at this moment, we have some treatments. And I think we saw that with the situation with President Trump, where we have treatments that are now available. And we're just, I firmly believe we're going to have to live with this virus. And are we going to get rid of our masks? No.
Yeah, well, the thing that gets us, the thing that has surprised me over, the past year, as you know, because for a few months we weren't talking. Because you, for
I know.
whatever reason, you got angry at me when I said something, you should put him in jail. I forget what it was, the initial thing, but you said, no, I can't talk to you anymore, and you hung up on me. And we've been doing different shows of different things when you were in the mortgage business. We were doing,
Yep.
the radio shows.
Yep.
And I know you to be, a former newscaster from San Diego.
Yep. And
And,
from Los
and, and,
Angeles.
and all of a sudden, you couldn't take my criticism. And
It,
I'm pretty light. I don't call names. I mean, I don't say
it
somebody.
really was. It really wasn't
I like
that.
talking things.
Yeah, I do too. The only problem that I have at this point right now, especially when we were going through the impeachment situation, and I am a former news reporter. I was a news reporter in San Diego. I was a major news reporter in Los Angeles. I was on the air with Charlie O'Donnell, if you remember him from years and years and years ago, and was very privileged to work with PBS station down in Huntington Beach, as well as National Public Radio. And I was their West Coast correspondent. In fact, I ran the entire news operation for National Public Radio.
Well,
But my concern, all right, Brendan, go ahead.
not to cut you off, but my question was, where did you go wrong?
Where did I go wrong?
Right.
The problem is you've got to be fair. This country is based on due process. And if in fact President Trump had done something criminal, I wanted to see the evidence of that criminality. And just to say, let's impeach him and jail him. The worry I have is we have this attitude right now of automatically assuming everybody is guilty until they prove their innocence. And that's not the American way. That's not the American that I know, and then not the American that I want our country to be. You have to have due process, and you are assumed to be not guilty, to be innocent, until such time as that there's sufficient evidence to show, in fact, that you are guilty of the accused upon crime.
I agree with you. The question I have, it goes way before that, before the impeachment. I mean, it's obvious, I'm anti-Trump. Why am I anti-Trump? To me, he's not what a president should be. Number one, the way he talks, his vocabulary, the way he's an expert at everything, whether he knows more than the generals know, he knows more than the scientists know. And he says it in his own words. So aside from his personality, he's as I always check the fact check, he's a notorious liar. And the things that he says, what he's done more than since Lincoln, especially for the African Americans. He's done more than this, more than that. He's always bragging about what he's doing, which to me, that's not what someone who's really feels confident in themselves says. So personality, I don't care about him. Secondly, I don't agree with his policies. I mean, his policies, he's always saying like he's for science, but everything the scientists say, he doesn't do. He does what's best, what he thinks is for the economy. But he does nothing to, I saw Pence on the, I don't know if you saw, of course you saw the debate.
Of course.
I mean, Pence said they were talking about the ecology and the global warming or the climate change. And he said, we listen to the scientists. No, they're not listening to the scientists. The scientists said we could stop this if we, stop the fossil fuel and change over to, clean energy. And clean energy to me is a way of the future. I mean, it's going to take a while to get there, but it's a way of the future. Now, what Trump is doing, he is going back to the mid 50s, mid 1950s or 1850s. He wants to do coal. Now, even if they do coal again, the workers aren't going to be working there because they're going to be taken out by robots and machines. And he wants to do oil. Oil is a thing that does the carbon dioxide up in the air, the carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. But one of it is a thing that's causing a global warming. And the global warming is not a thing of the future. They used to say, oh, 50, 60 years. But now, as you're living in South Carolina, you're getting hurricanes coming one behind another. Now you have they run out of the alphabet. Now it's what, Delta is coming in. And as you say, it's more extreme than the ones before it. All of a sudden, you're getting deluged with water, deluged with wind, more so than ever before. In Southern California, we've had over 4 million acres burnt so far this year, the highest ever. Why? Because it's warm. Aside from the fact that you have to call the gardeners to clean up, as Mr. Trump said. It's warm. It's like a tinderbox because we're having no rain. We're having heat. As a matter of fact, a few weeks ago was the hottest day recorded on Earth in Death Valley, 130 degrees.
Yep.
In the valley where I live, in the San Fernando Valley, it was 115 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, something has to be done. And according to most scientists, it's the basic thing would be fossil fuel would be the foremost thing to take care of. And Trump has no program for that.
Well, let me start with, because that's, you put a lot on the plate, but let me start with the whole situation with the personality. I am a Trump supporter. I'm an independent voter, however, and I am a Trump supporter. And I chose to go with Trump despite his personality, despite all of the crazy tweets, all of the blurts. My husband and I would listen to him. We would go A, B, C, D, and we would listen to all of this. And all of a sudden he'd go off on a wild rant on something. And the two of us would look at each other and go, oh, for crying out loud. Why in the world would he say something like that? All that being said, that's his personality, okay? So when I make a decision in terms of who I want to vote for, I'm looking at what's actually been done. And let's go back to some of the things you were talking about, that he's not listening to the scientists. He is listening to the scientists. He would have never shut down this economy had he not been listening to the scientists. He shut down this incredible economy. And in fact, what's interesting about that is he had the most robust economy that we have seen in our lifetimes.
Yeah, no, we had most robust economy since Obama. Obama's the one who.
But what I'm saying is, the point being, regardless of who has credit for it or not, that's not the issue. The issue is that he listened to the scientists who said, we got a major problem happening here. We don't know how to handle it. And you need to do something. And the do something is shut down the economy. That's bold. That's bold. That's gutsy. And he had to do it because he was concerned, because the scientists were saying we could have deaths of 2 to 4 million people. Now, I guess that's fine for China because they've got billions that they can go ahead and kill, but that's not okay here for the United States. So he listened to the scientists there. In terms of the situation, you and I are very close on this situation with climate change and global warming. But I must say that I look at it as pollution. Being a Californian, I still recycle. I recycle everything. And in fact, I don't even use paper towels. I go ahead and use cloth towels. And I use maybe one roll of paper towels, maybe once every 6 months, if that. And we recycle the glass, we recycle the plastic. In fact, we don't really even use plastic anymore. And that pretty much is, I want to do on my own part, is to make sure that I'm not contributing to the pollution and to the degradation. The other thing that's interesting here is that a number of the new developments are clear cutting trees. We live in a neighborhood, and we chose to be in a neighborhood that is absolutely, we have 100-foot oaks around us. And we've spent the money to make sure that they are pruned correctly and taken care of. And the detritus from the leaves is all taken care of. And the way to impact global warming is exactly what President Trump has started to do. He's going to be having planted, I don't know whether it's 1 million or 1 billion, plant the trees, because the trees and the vegetation will go ahead and recycle the carbon dioxide and release oxygen for us. I don't think that it's a one solution to climate change.
That we agree upon.
Because I have to tell you, I don't want to go back to the gasoline lines in 1972 when I was trying desperately to get to college. And I had a 1963 Buick Riviera that got 8 miles to the gallon. And suddenly my gas bill went from 25 cents a gallon to 75 and 78, which was a killer because I was financing my own education going up to a community college. What our energy independence has done has given us a card to be able to play, to be able to get, for example, the Middle East players to now, because we're not dependent upon them, to start to come to the table, to think about peace, to think about prosperity rather than war. And I think something that needs to be recognized. And as far as the coal situation is concerned, you can't just shut this thing on and off. It's going to be a situation where you're going to have some coal. We're going to have to be able to generate energy and electricity, which is not the case in California. Because California, Malcolm, I don't understand. How can you guys tolerate rolling blackouts? Rolling blackouts. I mean, do you have freezers full of food? I mean, that is not governance. Rolling
well, so far, I'm not sure how extensive it is. Right now in Los Angeles, it really has not been prevalent. At least we're not in the San Fernando Valley. I haven't had rolling blackouts. But the question is, that's caused by the heat. I rented some of the electronic systems. The companies are way behind in updating. But this gets me to the alternative energy. I mean, basically what there has to be a word that we're not using: transition. You don't all of a sudden cut off one and go to the other, but there has to be a transition.
Precisely.
Going from one to the other. You have to wean away from one.
That's right. We can't cut off the way it's being suggested with the Green New Deal.
The Green New Deal is, well, first of all, the Biden is not like they kept on saying he's for the Green New Deal. He is agreeing for the framework of the Green New Deal, but he's
on his website. It's on his website, and also Senator Harris was one of the co-sponsors of the Green New Deal.
Well, for me, I would go all the way. I mean, I'm again, when you said a rebel, I'm a rebel the other way. I'm a rebel too. You know, let's change. Let's change it for our kids, for our grandkids, and it has to be done now. And it also has to be led by some people, by some nations. And with Obama, we were the lead nation of it. We were one of the lead nations. Here, we may not be the mass polluter. China might be polluting more, and India might be polluting more, but we were at least head of let's change. We were involved with government. We did not, leave the Paris Accord like Trump did, being the only nation in the world that's not in the Paris Accord.
But the problem is that if you allow China to give them a pass for a 10 to 15 year period of time, they certainly produce far more, as do the Philippines, as do many of the South Asian countries, produce a tremendous amount of pollution. And the Paris Accords gave them a pass for a 10 to 15 year period of time.
But they gave us a dialogue. Gave us a dialogue with them. The important thing is the same way what we're doing. There has to be a dialogue. We can't cut it off and say, "Hey, you guys are bastards. Therefore, we don't want to have anything to do with you.
Right.
We want more." The thing is, even when he first started, to me, I don't know if he's a racist, but he's basically a rich. I don't know what the word would be, a richist. He wants people that have money to come to this country. He doesn't want to, do what the Statue of Liberty said: "Give me your poor, your desiring to be free, your people desiring to be free." He wants people that could afford to come in this country and pay their way in. And to me, we always, our democracy stood for something. I mean, to me, I was raised, I was, a teenager and my 20s during the Vietnamese War. So I always wasn't pro-government.
Sure.
I thought that a lot of things the government did was wrong, but there was a dialogue with people. We fought and we weren't, when the kids, when we were protesting against the war, we weren't the looters. We were protesting against the war. We were protesters.
Yeah.
And now, that whole thing has changed. But I keep on jumping subject to subject. But
No.
But
It's conversation. This is what normal people talk about. This is what we all talk about. This is what we talk about at the dinner table.
I don't see Trump's America. And Trump does not do that himself. I mean, like, I remember, even as a youth, everybody was proud to be in this, serve in the army, in the armed forces, even though they didn't want to.
Sure.
And one of the things I think it was in Mary Trump's book, that when I think it was Eric Trump or Don Jr. wanted to join the service, they said, if you join the service, I cut you off, no inheritance. And when he was supposed to join, when he's of age, because he's, around my age, heel spurs kept him out. The heel spurs were a joke back then. It was, you could go to a doctor, if you had money, you could get your 4F. And I'm not, I mean, I understood if he didn't want to go into the war, but he says he's 4F, and like we believe him. He's 4F, and that's why he's out. He didn't want to go. He didn't want to be. I understand if he didn't want to be a soldier and fight in the war.
We've all made mistakes. All of us have made mistakes. I'm looking at him through the glass of the last 3.5 years. What has he done for me, and what has he done for my family? I do know that the tax cut that he instituted saved me and my family a tremendous amount of money, and that helped me. And I look at those things as real solid gains as a middle class citizen. I got to tell you, Malcolm, I had to move my entire family out of California because I couldn't afford California anymore. We were living in Santa Barbara, which was great. That's where my husband had his business. And we were living in a 700 square foot duplex, which was marvelous because we were in Santa Barbara, but we were paying $2,300 a month. And the landlords were planning on raising our rent up to about $2,800 to $3,000. We couldn't afford that. That's why we had to make this really monumental decision to move to a state that we'd never been in before. We moved to a house that we had never seen. We had never been here. We bought it on Zillow, and we loaded up a 16-foot Penske truck with everything of value to us.
I remember that.
And we gave away the rest. We didn't even sell the rest. Why? Because we were living in a lower middle class neighborhood. And I figured, and so did my husband, figured these people could use some of the things that we couldn't load into the truck. So we gave all of this stuff away. That's the American way. You help one another. And we moved across the country, once again, to a house we'd never seen, to a state we'd never been in. And thank heavens we live in America, because we've done okay. We're rebuilding our lives at this point right now. And I have to tell you that there is hope, and there truly is hope. And I'm grateful, regardless of all of the bombastic things that this president says, and that he's not presidential and all these various things. I'm looking at the bottom line for me and my family. It allowed me to be able to put, hot dogs in for lunch. It's allowed me to have chicken and rice.
You're growing your own chicken, so.
Yeah, we are. So we're so grateful for that. And we live in a neighborhood, and I'm proud to say we're living in a neighborhood that is mixed, and we love it. We love it, and we're part of a neighborhood.
Mix economically or mix racially?
Mixed economically and mixed racially. We're lower middle class here, and we're mixed racially, and it's been very interesting since all changes have taken place since the George Floyd murder. and I do say murder. It's been very interesting because we've taken the time to make sure that we've reached across to people of other nationalities and other races, because that's important. That's the American way.
Well, as I said,
Madam Liberty is all about reaching.
Actually, that's why I was very surprised that you became a Trumpite, because going back to the taxes, the thing is, I think the average citizen saved $2,000 a year in taxes. I don't know how much your individual case was. It's $2,000 a year, which is like, $150 a week or something like $150 a month, which is okay, better than nothing, but nothing to write home about. But what he's done is the major corporations have had a windfall, and the major people who are millionaires and billionaires have a windfall, which resulted in the fact that the government is losing money. And now he's run as a Republican, but basically the national debt has been raised. I don't have the exact numbers. For the next show we could talk about the numbers, but the national,
I do, 22 billion dollars. Trillion, pardon me.
Right, from I think $10 trillion or something.
From 12,
so it's almost double.
Yeah.
So basically what he's done, he's going to have the nation in bankruptcy the same way as he did his companies. Now the thing is, he's always prided himself as, oh, I'm a billionaire, self-made. Of course, they say his father only gave him about $400 million to bail him out at times, but what's $400 million, among in the family. But none of his businesses has really been that successful. I mean, he's basically gone, I think, bankrupt 4 or 5 times. And what he's done is he screwed all the little men because he didn't pay them.
No, and I hate to say it because I'm also an accountant as well. He did not nail the little guys. When you go bankrupt, in fact, you do dispense of the debt, because we don't have debtors' prisons here. Thank goodness we don't. But those subcontractors are the ones that actually nailed the quote unquote little guys. The Trump organization did not contract with quote unquote little guys. They contracted with contractors that in fact, in turn, then went ahead and they had to make their peace with their quote unquote little guys. Now, bankruptcy is an American right. It's an American right to be able to do something like that. And once again, I'm looking at what has he done for me? And I can point to the things that he has done for me and how my life has changed to the better. I can point to the fact that the poverty rate is reduced to the lowest point since 1959. All Americans need to be included in this, and then all Americans are included in this, because when you reduce the corporate tax rates, you might think that simply the corporations pocket that money. They don't make money unless they spend money, and they spend money by hiring people, by buying materials, which are then built and put together by other workers and other individuals. And I must say, we have got to get supply side back from China and back here into the United States. We cannot be dependent upon enemies of the United States, which in fact China is.
Well, the thing is, we can get into politics in the next show, because right now, actually, we've been talking for about a half hour.
Oh, good. It seems like like nothing.
I know. I mean, we could talk about, but as far as even the economics, to me, we were talking about. There's the theory that I think that Reagan had was trickle down economy. It hasn't trickled down. Basically, a lot of the large corporations, what they've done with all the stimulus packages that they've gotten, and the money that they benefited from the tax breaks, they've been buying back their own stock. So the corporations and the head of the corporations are making a lot of money. The average person is not really making that much more money, if at all. Basically, there was someone that an African-American lady, for some reason I feel funny calling African-American. I grew up, someone who was black was black.
Thank you.
Black and
Me too.
white. But anyway, she was saying, yeah, there's less black unemployment because I hold down 3 jobs. In order to make a living, I hold 3 jobs. But anyway, there's a lot to talk about.
There is.
And I don't want to bore our audience. We have to come up with a title for the show. I don't know if it's East meets West or a conversation from alternate coasts, or he said, she said, or the we'll come up, and then this will be on malcolmdigitalradio.com.
I think that's great.
And again, you'll see it, and there'll be your picture on there. As a matter of fact, send me a picture and a little bio.
Okay.
Have it, but send me a new one.
All right, will do.
And we'll meet again. I don't know
That
whether you
sounds
want.
great.
I don't know whether you want to do it Friday or not. This could be good for me. Friday at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock. And there's plenty to talk about.
Let's think it over, because once again, we're both aiming for the same thing. We're aiming for a better America for all Americans. And that's what this is all about.
Right.
That's what the election is all about. A better America for all Americans.
That's why we can get along and talk. And even though we're thinking entirely different, and we're not calling each other names.
No, we're not.
I mean, again, I don't want to get into
No.
what's happening, because that's a whole other topic. Send my love to Fish.
Okay. My love to Anna.
It's been fun. Say goodbye. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.